To date, most of the short crank discussion revolves around average height males and 165mm cranks. What about a real-life shorty? What is the ideal crank length? And how short is too short? I have no clue, so I need to find out. We're back at the clubhouse. It's a rainy day, and we're gonna do a bike fit with Irene to see what's going on with her bike packing setup and explore short cranks. Thoughts?
She's short, and I think she needs short cranks.
And what are your thoughts?
I'm sure. I don't know if I need short cranks, but we'll find out.
Some perspective. Irene may seem short, but if you look at the demographic data, she's actually the average female height for the vast majority of the world. Short cranks open up hip and ankle angles, which can create more natural motion and comfort. For most people, 165mm cranks are short, but we go shorter, much shorter.
All right, we're gonna start off with a physical assessment. So we're gonna do both arms up to the ceiling as high as you can. Do a forward bend, reach down the side of your leg. I'm gonna see you squat as deep as you can go. Heel raises. We're gonna do 3 single leg squats as deep as you're comfortable with going.
This is hard mode.
1 and 3. Let me know when I reach your limit.
Okay.
All right, no hamstring tightness whatsoever. Hip here, that's full. Okay, that's a good difference there. Left leg almost looks like 8 to 10 mils longer here. Definitely that left knee is like forward. Okay, also left ankle looks taller here.
All right, I'm gonna awkwardly be right here. It's general assessment of Irene.
Yeah, generally she's very, generally hypermobile, very flexible. No limitations in the way she moves.
Hypermobile, what does that mean?
Just greater range of motion than the standard.
Is it a good thing or a bad thing?
It can be both. It generally allows you to get away with more, get away with a bad position. But for some people, hypermobility also means instability in the joints and weakness.
Gotcha.
Yeah, the general takeaway is that her left leg definitely presents notably longer, probably anywhere in the realm of 6 to 10 millimeters, depending on the position. And so I think we'll consistently go with that assumption.
So I'm not surprised that like this all presents like this. I have gone to a podiatrist before and they said your left leg is longer, but they did not tell me why. So I do not have any good answers, but at least interesting to take into account for this.
Yeah, and what I thought was interesting was it seems like a lot of the root, and you mentioned a lot of your ankle flexibility comes from swimming.
Yeah, so I swam from like age 5 until 19 competitively. Did not do any land sports basically. And when you swim, you have to kick, and it is beneficial to have very flexible ankles.
Basically flippers.
Flippers.
Yeah.
But
Gotcha.
Then when you start running and biking, you don't want flippers.
Right. So that's a lesson to everyone. Don't do triathlons, okay? Swimming's bad, running's bad for you. Stick to your bike, all right?
I disagree with this.
No, all right, cut it out. That's it.
Next, we're going to get her on the bike and see what she looks like. Did my best to mimic her current bike setup, and then from there, we'll kind of work towards a more optimal position there. Then, I want that center of the cleat to be at least on or behind that line. That's with new cleat position. Still a little bit of bias there. What does it look like if you're to roll your pelvis? And then, actually, you know what?
It was at this point that Alan realized Irene was having trouble rolling her pelvis forward due to saddle discomfort. The only way to solve this is trial and error with different saddles.
Now let's measure your butt. Hop off. Okay, I want you to kind of best posture ever, lean forward a little bit into that. It's not a perfect science, but it gets us in a ballpark. Somewhere around 120-ish. Let's try that real quick. I bet your bar height is also impeding you from, it's pushing your pelvis back, probably.
It's too high.
Yeah.
Irene settled on this 3D printed specialized mirror saddle.
All right, so now we are at the 155 cranks. Handlebar position has been reduced from the original position about 7 mils, and we've dropped the handlebar height 4 centimeters.
Initial impressions.
I feel like the pedal stroke feels shorter, unsurprisingly, but it doesn't feel hugely different right now.
Feeling harder or easier to pedal?
Slightly easier, maybe because I'm doing a smaller circle. But I think a lot of the other adjustments that we made, like I feel like I'm sitting more squarely on my sit bones now, as opposed to earlier when I was like really pitched forward. Yeah.
All right, next step, shorter cranks. Where are we in the crank length?
145.
145?
Oh, baby.
Is that legal?
It only is if you're a shorter person.
Yeah,
It's not legal here.
yeah. 5'4"? No, not allowed. Illegal.
No.
So one thing that can help with the shorter cranks too is because you have your left ankle struggles with that ankle dorsiflexion, right? So on the top of the pedal stroke on a long crank, your ankle either has to dorsiflex or that knee is going to come up and you're going to be starting with a toe down posture and you're just going to drive down through that whole way.
I do, I've been focusing on trying to keep it with the neutral position, and I think it feels like pretty natural to do it on this. Like I feel like almost if I go like this feels uncomfortable.
Okay.
Like this just seems more natural.
Okay, that's good. Yeah, so that's a positive sign.
Yeah.
We are at the limit of my adjustable cranks at 140 millimeters of length.
This is feeling a little clown bikey, I will say.
Okay. We started to hit that point.
Yeah.
Let's go a little bit harder on the resistance and just confirm that.
It's feeling jerkier though.
Okay, let's hop off, get some water. I'm gonna change it back to 145. So this is at 145 on the cranks. So far it's looked the smoothest. Allows her pelvis to roll forward well. Allows her to naturally drop the heel better. Okay, that's good. All right, Daniel, we can move on.
Here is the before and after. Two things to look for: the angle between her thigh and torso at the top of her stroke, and the angle of her foot at the bottom. We just finished the bike fit on the adjustable bike. What do we start off with?
We started off with trying to figure out how to get her pelvis in a better position. She had trouble kind of getting comfortable on the saddles.
And what's your final opinion?
I learned to have a bit of a habit to kind of like tilt my pelvis back to compensate for, I think in the past, I often feel like there's a lot of pressure on the front part of the saddle. But with the saddle changes, it feels like I can kind of push forward more and like kind of tilt my pelvis forward more without feeling like I have any pain in that area.
So saddle, and then we played around with crank length, right? Well, bar height, saddle position, we went through that, but then we started going around with crank length. So we started at 165, and then what happened?
We jumped down to 155. 160 would have been a waste of time.
Yeah.
Tried 155. Still looked a little long, in my opinion. Still had a tendency to point her toes downwards. As we dropped down to 150, started to look better. And 145, everything looked really natural. She said she was more naturally dropping her heels. Her pelvis was naturally rolling. Everything just looked natural and normal.
You've only tried what's on your bike,
Yeah.
which is 165.
Yeah.
And then when you went to the first step shorter, did you notice immediately, or was it something that you had to get used to?
I noticed definitely the smaller revolutions, so I was kind of adjusting myself to that. But then I think as the really big heel, the ease of heel drop really came after the second adjustment.
Right. Yeah. So it's interesting because normally it's a lot of people go to shorter cranks because they have flexibility issues, but you're very flexible, right? And so I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah.
And then we went all the way down to 140.
Yep.
And then it started getting goofy. Yeah. Right. Yeah.
I feel like a tall person though, so
Yeah.
just need that picture.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. It's so funny that everyone has like a limit.
Yeah.
Like, you keep going and like, oh, that's
Yeah,
and it seems
yeah.
very sudden too, right? Has that been your experience when you've tried with different people?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's very clear.
Final thoughts on the fit?
Yeah, I think I will say we talked a lot about my tendency to kind of be like farther back on the handlebars, and I feel like with this fit, like when we restarted the second time after trying out the really short ones and then going back to 145s, I can more naturally just be like in this position up near the brakes, and it doesn't feel like I have to like pull myself back.
Right.
So I think that's a big thing for me is like I'm usually stuck back here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So next step, transfer the fit.
As
As best as
we can.
possible.
This is a triathlete's bike. This is what happens.
There's a steep ramp angle here. We could actually kind of shorten your position, drop down a little bit. I think we can do that.
We can also get rid of that hideous bar tape.
Yeah.
We ran into some issues. You want to go over those?
Yeah, Cannondale has a pretty proprietary bottom bracket system, so it's hard to kind of just plug and play some other cranks in there.
Yeah, so we weren't able to try any shorter cranks.
Yeah, so we can't install her short cranks in right now.
Yeah, and the cranks affects a lot of different parameters. So
Bottom mechanics, yeah.
not perfect. Also ran into issue with the seat post, had to be trimmed.
Yeah, CPO was too long. I chopped off a couple centimeters.
Yeah, because Canada has some weird suspension pivot in the back of their bike. What is that? Crazy, huh? Okay, we're done shitting on Canada. Bunch of little changes. Wasn't perfect, but getting there.
Right.
Got it. All right, and what are your thoughts?
Yeah, definitely being able to reach the brakes, especially on a gravel bike, is big plus for me. I'll have to ride it around a little bit and see how it feels, but certainly like I think especially with some of the cleat positioning that we did very early on, I could tell that it's just much more natural for me to like really push with my whole foot instead of kind of do that toe jabbing thing I was doing previously.
And you've gotten bike fits before.
Yeah.
But this one, did you feel like you learned anything new or
Yeah, the
anything
bike
surprising?
Yeah, the bike that I got before was not as comprehensive in terms of all of the physical assessment. I think I just like touched my toes and he was like, "Cool, you're super flexible," and I was like, "Yeah."
Binary.
So yeah, good.
Yeah.
I think it was literally like 1 to 10 flexibility, and it was
Yeah.
like 8 or something. I was
What?
like, great.
You deserve higher than 8.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
So definitely like seeing some of those imbalances and seeing how they came through on the bike itself was just personally really interesting.
Essentially, we did 2 different kind of fits. One was like the ideal fit
Yeah.
on the fully adjustable bikes, and then there's the accommodation of getting this Cannondale to where it could
Yeah.
work for you.
Yeah.
What do you think the biggest change you noticed was?
The biggest is definitely the handlebars, and also the cleat positioning, because I do feel like I can actually go through the ball of my foot
Nice.
now.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, I would say it's like, to me, you're a classic case of a very adaptive rider. And I find a lot of the shorter riders are, because that's the only way you could stay riding is like you have to have the mindset and the flexibility to
Yeah.
be able to deal with a lot of stuff.
Yeah,
So yeah, I think there's some things that we learn and work on. And
Yeah.
Yeah, very cool.
Thanks. Thank
Final
you
thoughts?
both.
No, I think she looks a lot better now.
Yeah, it does, definitely. You
Thanks.
look, I think you grew a little bit too.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Amazing. Now
All
I
right.
don't need a shorter bike anymore.
Yeah, I know. You actually went up a size.
Yeah.
All right, cool. I guess that's it. And I don't know, we'll see where we go from here. I have some new design ideas that we might try. But yeah, awesome. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. I'm out here grinding, trying to be the best custom frame builder you've never heard of. To be the best, you got to push yourself to learn new things. Here's my takeaways. This fit completely changed how I view short cranks for riders under 5'5". I think it's more than nice to have. It's necessary. Cranks shorter than 165mm can totally change the pedaling mechanics for a shorter rider. As you progressively shorten the cranks, you eventually reach a limit where the pedaling is choppy. Before that point, you are within an acceptable range. Try it out for yourself. Finally, short cranks, fancy bikes are fun to talk about, but sort your fundamentals out first. Bar angle and lever position and cleat position. I hope you learned something too. If you did, try it out, leave a comment, like the video.